Okay, so morning reflections with the herd. I'm out here doing my new sort of morning ritual, whereas I'm coming out here with the herd before I start my day, just to be conscious of landing in myself and also looking to the horses to show me what energy do I want to be in today. So one of the things that I've learned from horses that's different from human culture is to really allow the energy of the space to lead us instead of us trying to lead the space. So horses are very naturally cyclical and really honor the rhythms of their energy cycles and in the day. Humans, we kind of have moved away from that because of imposed structure, our minds. We're very linear about how we see things. And what happens with that is we come, I think, out of connection to the natural rhythms of time, and also the cycles of energy, seasons, all of that. When I start my day, I want to be conscientious about what is the energy in myself and what is the energy in my day. So I'm not needlessly exerting energy where the space isn't calling for it, if that makes sense, which I'll kind of go deeper into in some other videos when I go into that. But one of the things that I've really come to appreciate and lean into around the horses is, and in teachings also of the medicine wheel. So the medicine wheel is a Native American teaching. Different tribes have different meanings of the medicine wheel. It's not universal. But what I really appreciate about that teaching is for us to sort of pay attention to what energy or what direction is our energy wanting to be. And that also informs us, with our process, with the things that we're creating, what it needs. So when I come out here, what I'm sort of sometimes looking at is what direction are the horses facing in? Which horses am I drawn to in that direction? And how is that informing me of where I need to occupy, where I am in the cycle, and what direction is really nourishing me? So there's a little bit of movement coming here, but if I look at the horses and I watch, there's some shifting a little bit as happens in a herd. Some of them are facing south. So the ones that are looking at me are kind of facing in the south direction. Malachi up there, the big gray, is facing north. And so this is one of the things when I'm coming out here in terms of getting messages or wisdom jets over there looking out to the west, is where is my energy called to? Which horse is there? And also if I'm wanting to sort of honor the different directions. So one of the things that you can also connect to around the medicine wheel. And I also want to say this is whatever I know and I've learned about the medicine wheel has been through teachings with Native American teachers. I'm not an expert of it, obviously. It is not my lineage teaching. I'm just offering because I resonate with it. But if it is something you're curious about, I would go and look into that, just medicine wheel. Like I said, it's not universal in terms of different tribes and different nations will have, they'll associate the directions with different things. So the West isn't always black, for example, in terms of the color, depending on where you're aligning with that, which teaching. There is a wheel that we resonate with, or we were most taught with. I don't off the top of my head remember which nation that aligns to, but I'm sharing that as a reference point. So sometimes when we're doing sort of prayer, if I'm wanting to open sacred space or start my day, I will actually turn to each direction and really honor what I'm getting. But something that I will often also pay attention to is which direction do I feel most called to stand in, and how is that informing me of where I am or where I need to be. So for example, some of them have now shifted to face the north, which is down the valley. Malachi, the big white guy, is moving up there is in north. And then two of the dark horses just turned north. North is the place of ancestor and prayer. So if we're called to the north, for example, My understanding or interpretation is we're called to be in connection to prayer, ancestors, to spirit. When I'm feeling called there, to me, it's a time of really connecting to that place of source and ancestry and prayer. And that's the energy I need to hold in order to guide myself forward, maybe to get answers. If I'm looking to call something into my life, that's where I'm going. If I'm feeling called, there might be an invitation to spend some time in reverence to what that direction really represents. It is the element of air. So again, thoughts, prayer, spirit. The south, which a lot of these horses are facing, or half of them are, is about emotions, the place of innocence, inner child. So if the south is calling to me, and again, this is an interpretation based on the teachings I have. I recommend people look deeper into it if you want to go more deeply. When I'm feeling called to the south, or I'm noticing the horses that are in the south that are calling to me, I might want to spend time with my emotions. So how I'm feeling, paying attention to what I'm conjuring up and landing in my emotional frequency. If I'm wanting to call something in, right? Paying attention to how I feel about it. And it also might be an invitation that I have some unsettled emotions that I really need to process. It could be around my inner child, but that's the emotional, the place of emotions, innocence, and water element. The east, which is the mountain range up here, that's new beginnings. It's fire. It's when we're sort of ready to walk that path of new emergence. So to me, that is really associated of I'm ready to burst something into the world. I'm ready to emerge. I'm ready to walk a new path. There's a new beginning. There's a little bit more of an active energy to that because we're moving forward with a new vision, or we're calling a new vision in. East is the element of fire. And also, there's also different animals they'll put in the directions too, depending on the medicine wheel. So again, this is a very light touch. I'm just offering it as a reference point, but again, I'm in no means sort of an expert or teacher on the medicine wheel. I'm just offering the things that I connect to when I'm with the horses around that. And then the west, which is this direction here, is about introspection, kind of the womb space. When we're bringing ideas that aren't exactly into form yet, but we're nurturing them in the kind of the dream state. Introspection, contemplativeness, retreat, and it's the element of earth. And so when I feel called in the west, I know that I really need to sit with those ideas before I bring them to the light of day, and that's the cycle that I'm in. So one of the things when I'm out here with the horses, even with clients too in my own space, the directions is sometimes something that I'm noticing. So if I ask the question, or I come and I stand in the space and I notice, which direction am I called in? And then I'm going to stand there and really look at what is that informing me of where I need to be in the cycle of myself, or what direction the energy is in myself, and also the things that I'm preparing to birth into the world. And that's where I'll spend time. So instead, I think sometimes when we're creating something, or we're in our own process and we're not sure, or maybe we don't trust that actually, so if I'm in the north, it might be I just need to spend some time in prayer, maybe looking at some ancestral past life stuff, connecting to spirit. If I'm not sure that that's where I need to be, or maybe I'm trying to get into action, but that's not, I need to trust that that's the urge. This helps me really lean into that energy. Same with if I'm being called to the west, where it's more retreat, introspection. I'm still harboring that seed of a new dream or a new way of being. It's not really time to bring that out to the light of day. Looking to which direction or which horse allows me to honor what cycle I'm in. Because sometimes, again, as human beings, whether it's a space of urgency or force, instead of listening to where we are energetically, or where the energy is around a stage or a phase that we're in personally, or with what we're creating, we force and we push. And so this is a way for us to really get in tune with what energy we're being called towards, which direction we're standing in, and then honor that cycle. And then trust that when we're out of that space, so say I'm in the west and I just really need to be in that retreat and to contemplate new ideas or new visions, and to really be in that place of introspection, I need to trust that when it's time to bring those to the light of day, and maybe I'm changing over more to the east, that I will feel the shift of the energy. And so again, it's not going based on my mind's timeline. It's really listening to the energy. If I'm uncertain, I come out here and I look to the horses and pay attention, not just to the horses too, but the land. So sometimes if I want to deepen into this inquiry, I'll come and I'll stand in each direction and just notice where I feel the most energy and how that is informing me about where I need to be. And again, then I can really trust and honor what I'm being called to. When we do that, or when we practice leaning into this teaching, we're much more in tune with those rhythms, and we can really honor how long we need to be in each cycle and not rush or sort of bring things out immaturely. When we don't listen to the energy of something and we move things based on our own agenda or on urgency, we're not creating a foundation or creating a space for ourselves where we can have success, or we can bring something out successfully because it's not ripe yet, because we didn't listen. Same with our own process too, by the way. I think it goes both with the things that we're creating and also in our own personal process. I don't want to rush out of a space of retreat because I'm impatient and don't want to be there anymore. Because if I don't spend the time that I need to be contemplative or to be in retreat, when it comes to emerge, I'm not going to have the energy or capacity or direction that I need for sustainability. And so I might actually in short term do a little bit, and then I'm going to find myself right back into that space because I rushed it, if that makes sense. So it's just a different way of responding and listening to space that I wanted to offer to you guys today. So if you're watching this video and it kind of resonated for you, the first thing I would recommend is to look up Medicine Wheel teachings to find which space that you resonate with around that, and explore that teaching a little bit. I think there's lots of things on Google, and also what I'm going to try to do too is in the description put up some books that I have that are written by First Nations teachers or indigenous teachers that talk about the medicine wheel, if you want to reference point that and do some teaching around that, or to do some learning around that from that space. Secondly, if this teaching really resonates with you, then I would play with that. You know, if you have a herd of horses and you want to add that layer into noticing what direction they're in, if you want to go out into nature, knowing, you know, paying attention to which direction am I called in to do that. It's a really beautiful teaching. I really resonate with it. It's been a really powerful ally for me to know and understand what energy cycle I'm in my life and in my creative process. And then this is just another example in the work that I do with the horses, another way that I look to the horses to help affirm what cycle and direction I'm in energetically, because we can trust the purity of where the horses are as opposed to our own mind. So some people sometimes again ask me, what happens if you bring something out here and nothing happens? And I say there's never nothing happening. Sometimes the invitation is to sit and even notice, where are the horses standing? What direction is that? What's symbolic of that direction? If you don't know, that's where I would sort of gain insight into the 4 directions, so you could offer that and just reference where the teaching comes from. But there's always something that we can feel into when we're in a space with horses. The reason why I love being in the herd dynamic so much in an environment where horses can naturally cycle and be is because we get the advantage or the gift of being in that frequency of natural cycle and rhythm along with the herd. So just even being in a space with them like this gives us a lot. We get a lot from that. So there's always something that we can gain an embodiment of or frequency around just from being in the space with the herd. And that's why I love so much creating teaching where we can just come out and be in nature with the horses, because we find our way back to that natural rhythm and to listening to that. And I think that's a very profound experience in teaching that we can then bring into our lives, because we are very disconnected from that in our human society. Okay, so probably more to unpack in those pieces. If you're watching this video, let me know it resonates. And then pay attention to maybe which horse or direction that you feel called into right now. If there's something that really landed for you or gave you affirmation on this video, If you have questions, please put it into the comments and I will be happy to answer them, and then link to if this resonates with you guys and you want to explore more of our work. We always love bringing more people into our community.